Fabled support in 2020. Who would have guessed? What is up, dudes and lady dudes? Welcome back to Just Nuts. Guys, today we're looking at Fabled support. More blazing Vortex stuff. And guess what? Not fire. like I'm still like kind of blown away. Like I really was hardcore expecting a lot of just like fire attribute stuff. We've seen literally none. This is going to be, I think, about 20 cards now. We got 5 Fabled cards here. This is one of the archetypes I thought like made a good amount of sense to be in like selection pack 10, but it's in here. It's almost the same amount of cards. You get 5 cards instead of 3 or 4, so it's still like pretty good. And I know there's like a small cult following, so this is pretty cool. I think the designs have always looked dope for Fabled. I just think when I read through the cards, and I don't really know Fableds incredibly in depth, there's not too much of a win condition, but I guess maybe they're kind of one of those like spammy kind of archetypes where you just try and spam your way into like generic links, generic synchros, stuff like that. But we're gonna have to see what we got here first and foremost, because they're just one of those archetypes. It's kind of like Dark World, where they want to be discarded, but I believe they trigger on any discard, even if it's on cost, whereas Dark World's only trigger when they're discarded as cost, or as the effect, not as cost. So that's actually pretty cool. They work well with dangers, and yeah, I don't want to waste too much time rambling. Let's just get into this. I love the design of this first monster. I think he looks so dope. This is Fabled Marchosia. It's a level 4 light fiend effect monster with 1700 attack, 0 defense. You can only use his first and second effects once per turn each. If this card is in your hand, you could discard 1 or 2 monsters, except for himself. But you must discard at least 1 Fabled monster. And if you do, special summon this card. And if you do that, this card gains 200 attack for each monster you discarded by this effect. You know, it's not too crazy. Like, I guess, like you discard 1, special him. You can discard 2 if you're really just trying to trigger effects in hand. That's nice. I like that versatility, because with something like Fabled, you may just really want to discard more than 1. So I'm into that. And if this card is discarded to the graveyard, you can add 1 Fabled spell or trap from your deck to the hand. I believe Fableds have no spell or traps. I was literally looking at all Fabled cards because I knew this was coming out. I believe we only have 2 new spell or traps here in this set, and they have none before this. So we got to see what we're going to be able to potentially search off of this guy, but that's pretty good. And our other monster, so I like that though, also a beater. That's nice as well. We have the Fabled Afank. I don't know. They have weird names. He's a level 2 beast tuner effect monster. Ooh, rescue cat stuff. Attack is 1000, defense is 600. You're not using him to play battle phase shenanigans. You can only use this card name's effect once per turn. If this card is in your graveyard, you can discard a Fabled monster, and if you do, special summon this card but banish it when it leaves the field. That's pretty nice, honestly. That's a pretty good effect. Where like all you have to do is just get him in the grave. He doesn't fire on discard, like when you discard him, but then in grave you have the ability to activate him when you want. Sometimes it can be a little clunky archetypes like this, where it's like, oh, trigger when discarded, but you want to wait. There's like a more opportunistic time. Maybe you want to draw some cards before you activate this, stuff like that. But it's a nice card. It's a nice little extender for a deck that wants to put stuff in the grave and gives you a little bit of better timing for certain effects as well. So I like that. He's also a tuner, so you gotta love that. You got a level 2 tuner and a level 4 guy, and of course we have a level 6 Synchro. So this, I guess, is our new boss monster potentially, which they don't even really have boss monsters. Like when I was reading through them, most of them were just beat sticks that allowed you to like draw cards or recur when they left the field, but like they didn't actually do anything to pressure your opponent. So yeah. But this guy is Fabled Andraith. This is a level 6 light fiend synchro effect monster with 2400 attack, 1900 defense, so pretty beefy. His synchro materials are a Fabled tuner and 1 or more non-tuners. Nice. And you can only use this card's first and second effects once per turn each. First effect, if this card is special summoned, you can activate this effect. Your opponent can discard 1 card to negate this effect. Otherwise, you draw 2 cards, then discard 1 card. Okay, alright. Second effect, if a monster or monsters is sent from your opponent's hand to the graveyard, you can target one of those monsters and special summon it to your field, but negate its effects. All right, I think this card's okay. This one, I don't like. This first effect is interesting, but like Yu-Gi-Oh is so graveyard centric. Like, well, your opponent's just like, okay, I'll negate you, but I'm sending, Scarlet Sanguine, or you know what I mean, like Conquistador, Hawkero, and that's gonna like make up advantage already, and I just negated you, but also I get to still get advantage back from it later. So it's just like, eh. Um, I guess there are some things where like sending a monster from hand to graveyard is kind of nice. Where you just go like, oh, give me that monster, give me that free body on the field. But I don't think this card's overly good. Still, there's no in archetype disruption in this archetype like at all. But you know, what's cool is that the deck doesn't have any restrictions. So I don't even know entirely what the deck is focusing on going into. You probably have a lot of board spammy potential. So like Appaloosa, you know what I mean? Like IP, Appaloosa, Sporload Savage, just like generic like Synchro and like Link plays are probably available to you. So like I say that, but like I just don't know how the levels exactly match up for a lot of this deck's like extra deck and stuff. So it's still pretty interesting though. And I think this card's interesting. I don't know. I don't think you'd actually end up playing it though. All right, but we go to the spell and the trap here to see how they go, because keep in mind they are searchable off of this guy. This guy's probably definitely like a 3 of in the deck now. All right, this is Stairway to the Fabled World. This is a field spell card. You can only activate one card with this card's name once per turn, and you can only use the second effect of this card once per turn as well. When this card resolves, you can send one fabled monster from your deck to the graveyard. Now, I always wondered when we see a field spell like this. We keep seeing these field spells when this card is activated. Add an archetypal card from your deck to the hand. You know what I mean? Search a Trickstar monster. Search a Sub-Terror monster. All that stuff. Finally, we have one that's like a little bit different in such a graveyard-centric deck. Send a fabled monster from the deck to the graveyard. That's very nice, specifically for like monsters like this guy, our new guy, where you just send him and then he lets you discard to get himself back on the field, triggering other effects and unbricking you and stuff. That's very nice. Second effect says you can target one fabled monster in your graveyard. Discard 2 cards, and if you do, add the targeted monster to your hand. Okay, that's not bad. It discards 2. It's a little bit specific. Like you got to have 2 that you really want to discard. But honestly, you play so many cards that just say like when this card's discarded, special summon itself. So you're just going like add a card from grave back to hand to special summon 2 cards from hand. Like it's not really bad at all, honestly, just in terms of board spam ability. And the third effect, during damage calculation, if your fabled monster is attacking an opponent's monster and you have fewer cards in hand than your opponent, your fabled monster gains attack equal to your current hand size deficit times 200 during that damage calculation only. So that's pretty cool, and that's every single attack. That's not a once per turn effect. So it's just, every time you attack, if your hand size is smaller than your opponent's. Now, this is Yu-Gi-Oh! In 2020, so, people aren't, it's not even like, oh, I normal summon, now I can't really do anything with the rest of these monsters in my hand. People are just like, oh, let me just throw all my hand at this turn, and let's just run my opponent over. So I don't know how crazy that's going to be, but you do specifically play a strategy that wants to dump your hand. So that's a nice little bonus battle phase effect at the end there. But I think this is pretty good. Just the fact that you're just dumping something immediately to get like some graveyard effects is pretty nice, right? And as well as the second effect can be good to just like help get a discard effect just to dump out of your hand. And then we have our last card here. This is Fabled Regicide, a normal trap card. You can only activate 1 card with this card's name per turn. This card reads, you can target 1 fabled monster in your graveyard and 1 face-up card on the field. Discard 1 card, and if you do, special summon the targeted monster in the graveyard, and if you do that, destroy the targeted card on the field. So I was kind of hoping for this as well. Like I said, Fableds have no in-archetype disruption. They had, prior to this card, 0 cards that said, like, during my opponent's turn, I get to mess with them. They have a lot of discard effects, a lot of effects that let you spam the field and stuff like that. But they didn't have anything. And obviously that doesn't mean they can't set up disruptions just via them having tuners in their archetype and just going into generic synchros, going into how Fibrax plays, going into like generic links like Appaloosa and IP Masquerena and stuff. I'm not saying they didn't have them on the board, but having something that's like very simply searchable is very, very nice. So I think Fabled Regicide would be nice. The one thing that's a little iffy on this card is that it does take a little bit of setup. Like, you got to have a card in hand to discard, but it's a generic discard and it's not even as cost, which is nice. So if it gets negated, you're still not losing the monster. Although honestly, in this deck, you may want to be losing the monster. I know there's one of the, I think there's a Fabled card that, like, when it's discarded, you can just like pop a card your opponent controls. So like, that's kind of cool. You could pair this up with that. Literally go like, let's see, special. So you'd be like special summoning a Fabled monster from your grave, popping a card off of this card's effect, and then popping another card because you discarded the one that gets you an extra pop. Like, that's kind of cool, honestly. You know, double pop. Like, Dryden's kind of meh in 2020, like by itself. Like, it needs to be paired with stuff, but like double Dryden is actually a little bit more like, oh, recognize. Okay, that's actually kind of scary. So I like this a lot. It's now searchable. I don't think any other cards search like Fabled Speller Traps, but this guy seems to be a complete like 3 of in the deck. I mean, he's a beater. He helps you discard other cards and like extend himself, while also getting you extension of when he's discarded, you're getting to add a Speller Trap, which gets you disruption or gets you extendability with this card. I think it's nice, honestly. Like, I think the Synchro Monster is probably the most useless one here. I kind of wish this was another like disruptive card, like a real disruptive card. I guess it kind of does with the second effect, but it's really not that great. But I think this guy is really good for the deck. This card is pretty good. I think it's like particularly a really nice target for like the field spell, so that's good. The field spell seems pretty good, you know, just discarding, getting free special summons, discarding, getting searches, discarding, getting pops with the other guy. Like, that's pretty cool. The deck already works with danger, so maybe this is like just a hard going second deck, I don't know, where you just keep discarding, keep spamming. Your opponent's trying to negate stuff, but they don't know what to negate because you just have all of the same effects, you know what I mean? And then the new disruption is actually pretty nice for the deck as well. So that's going to do it for me there, guys. I don't know like Fableds too thoroughly, but to me these cards seem pretty good, and I'm curious to see exactly what kind of combos the deck will be able to pull off now. I'm definitely curious on that front, just to see. And if you know something I don't, and if I missed any interactions that are interesting or anything, throw it in the comments down below. I'd love to learn more about these because I think they look dope. And if I learn more about them and I think they're cool, I honestly might want to be picking these up out of Blazing Vortex. So let me know your comments down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you want to see more Yu-Gi-Oh! News videos from me, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.